Sup, homies? My name is Mike S. $300,000 per year. That was the offer for an AI engineering lead role at a company that required a final project as part of the interview process. That project and how I completed it is the subject of today's video. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Raggedy. Raggedy takes in a website and produces a chatbot. The underlying technology behind this application is called Retrieval Augmented Generation. More broadly, Raggedy scrapes the target website, embeds the content, and generates a relevant response through retrieval. Today, I'll break down exactly how the application accomplished this at each of these steps. If you're curious about LLMs, building one from scratch, for example, you should check out my previous video where I built GPT-2 from scratch. Should the agentic workflow produce an agent that can answer these questions, and we're going to test that with the harness before we even wire it up to a web app, then the agent is usable. Look, if you want me to go into depth on any of these topics, I'd be more than happy to. Just leave a comment or reach out to me, and I'd totally be willing to do a video on RAG or building web applications with Streamlit, embedding, just LLMs broadly, whatever you guys want. But for this video, I'm just going to cover the main points. So first things first, let's do the scrape. What you're looking at is the full scrape of the website. It's even tough to look at, really. So let's clean it up. Much better. This is the scrape, specifically, of the Careers tab and main page. As I mentioned earlier, fundamentally, I want to trace back to the evals. I want it to answer, what are the jobs at Fleetworks? What does Fleetworks do? Pretty much the same questions I have for any company that gets funded. There's two separate cases here when we're talking about accumulating the entire content of a website. We have just generally like the sitemap, the homepage, any of the content on the basic links, and then there are sublinks. When it comes to Firecrawl, these are separated into two endpoints, one called scrape and another called crawl. For this specific project, for the specific scrape of Fleetworks, we scrape the homepage and crawl the careers page. On a quick aside, but very relevant, I used Firecrawl to scrape, and you know what? It's fantastic. It's very robust, so you can run it locally and not have to use any tokens or pay to do it, but you will need a Docker container, and it'll take a little bit of time to set up. But once you have it running, you can treat the endpoint just as any other local host API call. Now, if you want to not deal with the Docker container, you can actually pay per token, just like you would at any API you consume. The data scrape, so now we just need to embed it and store it. Now, this is also called ingesting. What embedding model you choose is fundamental. Just as a aside, if you're embedding both text and images, you'd want to use something like Clip, an OpenAI embedding model. For our purposes, we just want a reasonably dimensioned embedding model. Now, I've had a lot of success with OpenAI's embedding small model. You do have to pay for it. It's negligibly cheap. We can look up the price of it, and you can see it. It's so cheap. Now, when it comes to the vector store, we have to store these embeddings. And I've used for this project MongoDB and their associated embeddings. In large part, that's because I have a lot of professional experience with MongoDB. I've always kind of been partial to NoSQL databases, because of the ease with which to use and aggregate. But Postgres has a fantastic vector store. Of course, ChromaDB, a very famous vector store. But for this project, as you can see, we are using MongoDB to store the records and the associated embeddings. So ingestion is done. Now comes the fun part. We're going to set up the agentic workflow. In fact, this is where you earn your bread as an AI engineer and aspiring AI engineer. It took me a long time to fully wrap my head around this. But I assure you, once it clicks, it opens the door to an entirely new range of solutions. It's a lot like that moment when you first understand the relationship between an application and its API. So I thought I could just summarize the last bit by using the application. And so we scraped the Fleetworks page. So that means we should have access to any of the careers or any of the information on the About page. So let's see. Does Fleetworks have any engineering jobs? I reckon they do. It's thinking. Fleetworks has multiple. These roles include building and integrating AI-driven workplaces. Awesome. Positions are available in San Francisco and Chicago, many requiring on-site work. How about any, how much would the engineer make? And so what we've done here is we've taken the entire website, embedded it, stored it in a vector database, and we can leverage RAG in order to interface with it. So I asked, how much would the engineer make? A salary between $160,000 and $240,000. Awesome. Maybe we'll do one final query. Do they have any agentic roles? Please be specific. And again, all this information comes as a scrape of these pages. Yes, Fleetworks has several agentic roles, specifically focused on AI and autonomous agent. These include developing an AI agents, voice agents, and let's just match that up with the careers page. Was it voice AI agents? And so that's kind of how the application works. You take an entire website, scrape it, and then embed it, and now you have a conversational interface where you once had a website. So I'd just like to say, knowledge of RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation, or knowledge of building agentic workflows like this is very valuable, and most of the companies getting funded today, or many of them, are receiving are applications of a DAG, or Directed Acyclic Graph. For example, SuperDAO raised $15 million this past summer. Emergent just recently, I guess in September, raised $23 million for a no-code platform, which will leverage, of course, agentic workflows in order to do so. And let's ask our agent how much Fleetworks raised, or if they did. And so in addition to the job posting which prompted this video, if you wanted to create your own DAG or your own agentic workflow, by leveraging LangGraph and an embedding model and a vector store, you too could be like Fleetworks and raise $17 million in a Series A round. All the GitHub, all the links that were shown in this video will be in the description. Please give me a like, please give me a share, also subscribe. I stream daily on Twitch, and I cover software engineering topics like directed acyclic graphs, and I often build side projects live on stream. All right, you guys take care. Peace.